Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are going to make our own Nmap module with the help of these libraries. So first of all, you have to go to this website, that is nmap.org and /download.html, or simply you can search for Nmap for your machine. And after that, I'm on Windows, that means I'll just download this Windows binary. You can simply click on this installer, you will save this by downloading, and after that you just download that. You should open it and you should install on this drive, C drive, and you'll see that it is installed in program files, and here is Nmap. So next thing is to just copy the installation, the file location, and after that you have to go to your PC and go to the properties. After that, advanced system setting, environmental variables. Inside this path you have to just edit here, and in my case I have already put this Nmap location, but now you can simply click on new and you can just paste it over there. So now after just you apply all of this, you'll just go back here, and now we have successfully installed the Nmap. Next thing is to install this Python Nmap module. So you have to open your terminal and simply just copy from here, and I'll just go back to the terminal, paste it right here. After that you have to just install this Python Nmap. I've already installed, and now after closing this you are good to go with the coding. So before that, I'll just open my IDE and show you what we are just doing here. So in this lecture we have to make this Nmap module, and we'll just make a port scanner with the help of this Python Nmap module. So first of all you have to import that Nmap, that is Nmap, and now let's instantiate this Nmap, and let me say the scan is the object, and after that I'll say Nmap dot port scanner. So this is the important class, so it is a port scanner. If I just click OK, there is single pop-up screen, that means our port scanner is up and running now. So you can now scan the any IP field over here. So you have to first type the scan, and the method over here is the scan method. So in this scan method you have to give the host name. Here is IP address, so I'll simply give the localhost to give you a real quick example. After that you have to give the port number, so I'll just say 222443. let's check this port number, and here the arguments is optional, so I'll just left it here and I'll just hit enter. It is going to scan us and it will just come after a minute, so let's wait and let's see its result. It will take some time and give you result like this. So you can see you have the dictionary over here. The result is in the form of dictionary containing some of this information. You could see the host over here, you could see the version, you could see the name, you could see everything over here. You can see the services, you can see the method, which is obviously the syncing method. We'll see all of these in the next minute, but for now you can see this is scan info, which is TCP protocol over here, and now you can just reference each of these keys and values of this dictionary. So if you want, let me say command line, you can simply do something like this scan dot end command line. So if you see this and if I hit enter, you are going to get the command line over here. And the next thing you can also do is you can also get the protocols, all of these protocols of this scan. So you can have something like the IP over here. So first of all it should be IP, which is obviously our local host, and if we scan and get all the protocols with this all protocol method, and if you just hit enter, you'll just get TCP over here, which is our protocol. If it has more protocol than TCP, it will just print out in the form of list. So next thing what you can also do is you can also see the state, if it is running or not. So we'll just say scan again, and localhost, which is obviously this host we are just scanning, and now I have to just see the state, if it is up and running or not. If I hit enter, it is saying up because it is running. So you can just check all of these states and all of these key and value pair from this dictionary. So you can also check something like the host name. If you let me just grab all of this, which is obviously our host, and if I just check for the host name with this host name method, you will see it is localhost. So you can do multiple things from this Nmap Port Scanner, which is going to scan us with this host name, and this is the port to be just searched. And next one here will be the argument. So argument will be in the form of the characters, and you can just search in the Google, so something like this will appear. So these are all your arguments. So if you see SV over here, it is the probe. It is basically searching for the open port to determine the service version info. That means if you just go back to our ideally, this SV argument refers to the open port because it is searching for the open port to determine the service and version info. So these are some arguments to be searched. So we'll make now our own Nmap scanner, and we'll see how we can just scan the IP addresses with the UDP, TCP, and the comprehensive scan. So let's open our PyCharm over here. Let's do real estate coding now. So first of all, we'll show something like the 3 type of scan we are going to just encounter over here. So first over here will be sync scan. Let me write the type of scanning first, and the next one would be your UDP scan, and the last one would be the comprehensive. So first of all, let's see about the sync scan, which is also known as the TCP scan. So this sync scan is the tactics. Basically it is a way that the malicious hacker or a cracker will use to communicate with the victim's port without establishing a full connection. That means this scanning will just scan the port number, but it won't have any connection with the victim computer. This approach is the oldest approach basically which the crackers use, and it is also used to perform the denial of service attack. And the sync scanning is also known as the half open scanning, because in this case we are not connecting fully with the client computer. Instead we are just having a half open scanning attack over here. So next one would be your UDP scan. So it is also quite similar of that of sync scan, but in this case UDP is a connectionless protocol. That means there is no equivalent to this TCP sync packet. However, if the UDP packet is sent to the victim computer or an open port, the system will respond with a port that is the unreachable message, and in that way the response will indicate that the port is open. And we have seen about this sync and UDP in the previous lecture, so that won't be problem for you. So it is basically a 2 type of scan. We'll see in the argument section how these can differ from each other. So let's start coding here. So first of all, as always, we have to import the Nmap module. So this is the Nmap module. So let's make a scanner now. So first of all, we have to just instantiate this Nmap module. That means with this help of port scanner, we have seen about this port scanner in a minute before. So first of all, let me just give the message to the user saying welcome to our Nmap Port Scanner. So this will be the message to the user. So next thing is, let me just make quite some spaces over here. And now after this, what you need to do is you need to have IP address. So IP address should be input from the user. So you know how to input. It is going to give us the message to the user saying please enter the IP address you want to scan. Okay, this will be the message to the user. It will just input that IP address, and let's print this IP address again to the user saying the IP address is, you can simply format this with your IP address. So now what we done was we just see the IP address. So let's see the type of the IP address. So you know what this type method does. This is going to just return us the class. So next thing is to get the response. So what this response does is it will just take the input from the user to see what the user want. So if the user want to have the sync scanning, then it will just get to the sync scanning. So what this response does, it will have the flow control. That means we'll use the conditional statement to have the flow control between this scan. So if a user presses 1, then it will redirect to the sync scan. If he presses 2, it will redirect to the UDP scan. If he presses 3, then it will just redirect to the compressive scan. So that means there will be flow control. So in order to get that number entered, we'll just use input again. And if you remember, we have this triple quote to have the multiple line. So I'll just make a multiple line and a single line, new line over here, that is with the slash n, and I'll just say please enter the type of scan you want to perform. So we can just go down because this is a multi-line comment. So first of all, I'll just give one here saying if you want the sync acknowledge scan, and the second one will be UDP scan, and the third one here will be comprehensive. So this will be 3 scans, and if I just put a new line again, so this will be the response from the user, or basically to the user. So after that they will just get that number. I'll just print you have selected option, and that will be res, which is basically the number. So they will just get that number. Let's check now. So if res is, so if you just do 1, this is not going to work, because if you see this res is from this input method, and we have talked about this in a multiple times before in the basic Python lecture, that this input method is going to give us the string, and this 1 is basically an integer. So we cannot compare this input which is in the form of a string with this one, so we have to just pass this as a string. So first of all, we just compare with the 1, and if it is the case, we have to now do something, that is your sync scanning. So let's do sync scanning. So first of all, let's check for the version of the Nmap. So I'll say Nmap version. Let's print this Nmap version first, and it will be done with this scanner, which you can see here, which is the object of this Nmap, and we'll make use of map version method over here. So it is Nmap version. So this method will be called to check the version of the Nmap that is installed on our machine. So next thing is to see that what this scan does. So we have seen this scan was going to give us the dictionary. So let's see how we can just get the dictionary. So first of all, first parameter that is to be sent in this scan is IP address, which is entered by the user here. So the next thing was the port range. So I want to check from 1 to 1224. The number of port to be scanned is till here, and the next one is the argument. So let's talk about this argument. So first of all, I'll see v, and the next one is yes. So what we did here was we just gave the argument to this scan, saying that it has to just scan with the verbosity, and SS is to scan for the sync, connect, acknowledge, Windows or minimum scans. If you want to know for further, then you can just check this documentation online in this book reference page. So if I just search for V, which is obviously our verbosity, so that should be right here. It is saying increase verbosity level, and you can also use VB for more greater effect. So this is your argument, which is we just pass right here. And this SS means that we want to just see the TCP sync scanning. So this is the way to put the argument to our scan method. So next thing what you need to do is to print that. So basically what we get from here is the dictionary. So I want to get the scan info from that dictionary, so I'll just say scanner.scanInfo. So this will be the method. So what this scan info does is it will just give the dictionary for the method like sync and services. So next thing what I want is the IP status. So let's print if that IP status is up or down. So for that we have to first of all type the scanner, and we have seen this in a minute before, because in that case if I just go to the ideally, I'll show you over here what we just did was in the case of this state. So we just pass here the localhost, we saw the state which was up, running or not. So we'll do the same over here. So instead of localhost we have to pass IP address that is entered from the user, and now we have to see the state. So before that let me just print some messages over here. So I'll say IP status, and after that I'll just put here the status, which will be done with this state method. So we have now the state method which is going to give us the status either up or down. And the next thing I want to give here is our protocols, which will be TCP protocol. So if you just see in the ideal again, which was right over here, so let's make use of this method too. So I'll just say scanner, and let's put again that IP address inside that scanner, and let's check for all protocols. So this will be messages, or basically calling the functions to get the TCP. And the next thing is to check for the open port, and this is important, we haven't done this before, so we will check for the open ports. So to do that we have again this scanner, and we'll just pass IP address that is entered from the user. Now in this case we have to make use of the TCP keys, because this is the TCP scanning. So we'll just pass TCP, and now we'll just get the keys, which is for the values. So what this result is, basically this will give, this last statement will give us the dictionary, and dictionary will be in the form of the port number. So we'll get number of ports that is open. So that can be something like the dictionary, which will be in the form of 123 or 55. Any port that is opened will be result from this statement. So this is our pretty much the first scanning, which is our TCP scan. So we have completed our TCP scan over here. Let's go to the elif part and type something like, if the response is greater than maybe 20, then print invalid, something message like this. Now let's check for our first scan. So first of all I'll just go to the run the main. So it is showing errors saying that resp is what we just did here. We have to check if it is 1 or not. So let's run this again, run the main. It is saying enter the IP address to scan. Let me make some spaces over here. So I'll make spaces. Let's stop it again. Let's go and run this main. So it is going to give us the IP address to scan. So let's see our IP address from here, ipconfig, then you'll just get the IP address 192.168.1.14. so I'll just type here 168.1.14, and it is the message that we just get here, which is saying input which scan we have. So in this case we have only the one, which is obviously the SCK scan, which is sync SCK scan. So that means I'll just put here 1. So I'll just enter 1 now, and it is giving us the selected option. So first thing that we just get was Nmap version, because if you see here we are just printing the Nmap version. So first thing we just get is Nmap version, and the next we get is this TCP. So this is in the form of the dictionary, which was the result of this scan info method, and it is giving us the method, which is obviously sync method, which we just did here. It was a sync method. And the next was the services. So services was basically to scan the port from 1 to 1024, and next was to see the state, if it is up and running or not. So IP status is up. And the next one was the protocol. So protocol is TCP protocol, and the last one was the open ports. So these are the open ports, or basically these are the ports that are open on this machine. So users get open port from this scanner. So in the next lecture we'll complete with this UDP scan and the comprehensive scan. So see you in the next one.